So I'm going to provide an overview at the beginning of our time for this medic volunteer training to just tell you a little bit about what we are asking of folks and what this has looked like thus far. And then I would love for us to just move on to some questions and answers and some conversation about, just stuff that I maybe didn't get to in what I was talking about, or questions that may still feel like they're lingering after that. I want to just be transparent with you all that this was a request that came to us a week ago this past Sunday. So we've been doing this for about a week. And it came to us very suddenly. And we are really just building this ship as we are sailing it, to be quite honest. So there may be questions that you have that I might not have an answer to, or that we might have to check up on. I've written down everyone's name who's here, and I will do my best to follow up with folks to answer questions. And, literally, I think every single night that we have done this for the last 8 nights, we have learned a new thing every single night, a new thing that we still need to cover, a new piece that we're still not doing perfectly, a new piece that we still need to reinforce or do differently. So, so just know that this is not a perfect endeavor. This is just something that we are living into as not many churches or congregations have ever served as emergency medic triage sites, I'm coming to find. So we're doing something that is kind of a new thing as a church and as a community and as partnered congregations and as friends of church members. And so we're just figuring it out as we go. So each night and sometimes during the day, today we have a daytime presence that we didn't expect, but each night for the most part, we have been holding space at First Universalist Church from around 6 p.m. Till we've been having volunteers from 6 p.m. till scheduled through 3 a.m. Nobody has ever stayed until 3 a.m. since we have been hosting this, but we just schedule folks just in case, because we know that there have been moments of police escalation where our folks are out on the where street medics are out on the streets, until sometimes even 3, 4, 5 in the morning. I just learned today, speaking of building this ship as we are sailing it, building this plane as we are flying it, that our medics have now agreed that they will not hold space at First Universalist past midnight, that they are essentially going to be moving into a mobile unit past midnight. So, so that is just a brand new thing. We've been doing 3 shifts. We will now be doing 2 shifts, one from 6 to 9 p.m. and one from 9 p.m. to midnight. So that's a new piece that we're doing just fresh. So I want to tell you a little bit about what you can expect during each of those shifts, a little bit about what you would expect when you walk into the building, and a little bit about what we're trying to do to help remain COVID safe in the midst of a pandemic. We are still in the midst of a pandemic, even though we are opening up our church because this is an emergency and an emergent need. We still want to do our best to remain as safe as we possibly can and to keep every single one of you as safe as we possibly can, as well as our medics, as well as folks who are coming in for care, or folks who are even just coming in to use the bathroom. So who is present in the building right now? We have medics who are a part of medic teams. We have a couple of medics that often stay on site. So in our Clara Barton lounge, which is our coffee hour meeting room, there's oftentimes 1 to 3 people who are sitting in there who are on-site medics. And throughout the evening, you will see medic teams come in and out. These are folks that wear sort of red tape around their arms or in a cross on their chests or on hats. People have gotten very creative with their medic gear, but there is anywhere from a range of 2 to 5 medic teams that go out into the field per night. These are often folks who have had 20 hours of training in this certain like street medic response. There's like a street medic training program that actually is a national program, and our folks, many of our folks here in Rochester are 20-hour trained. Oftentimes, there are medical professionals that are usually the medics that are available on site at triage. Those are the folks who are there for really serious injuries that our street medics may not be equipped to work with. So you'll see street medics that come in and out. There's also a transport team that works with them that just drives folks around to and from the protest site, getting medics out there, getting folks back, getting bottles of water out, getting folks back. And we also have some emotional support folks that are occasionally present in our building. Usually usually one, sometimes more than that. The emotional support folks have kind of had a home base with the medics, which makes a lot of sense to provide stable emotional support, not only for the folks who are coming in who may be receiving treatment, but also for our medics who have borne witness and been on the front lines of a lot of trauma in this last week and a half. These folks have been treating tear gas injuries, pepper spray injuries, rubber bullet, pepper bullet injuries, and have really seen a lot of really tough stuff. So our medics are finding a more sustainable schedule now, but at the beginning of this time, it was just a bunch of traumatized folks working together to the best of their ability to take care of our folks on the streets. So for folks who are a part of our 6 to 9 shift, that is the opening shift. We usually need one person who has a key to open the building to let folks in. And oftentimes what you're doing for the 6 to 9 shift is just remaining available at the front door, opening up our bathrooms and sanitizing bathrooms as folks come in and out, and remaining present for our medics. During each volunteer shift, we have 3 roles. We have one person who is a front door person. That person keeps an eye on the front door, hands out bottles of water and snack bars outside, and also monitors how many people come into the building. At this point, we really only want 2 people in the building at a time to be able to use our restrooms. We only have 2 single stall restrooms, and we don't want to have an excess of extra people in the building. That reason is twofold: to remain COVID safe, of course, and also because we don't want to have a bunch of people that our medics, might trip over in the event of an emergency. So we really want to just have 2 folks in the building to use the bathrooms at a time. Folks are only to be eating and drinking outside. So that's why we give people bottles of water, snack bars. Some people have gotten together some care packages with masks and earplugs and tissues and a snack bar together that we sometimes distribute out of that door too. The second role is someone who just sanitizes the restrooms. We sanitize the restrooms in between each use. We have sanitary supplies right there. We have them available in the restroom as well as outside of the restroom on a table for people. We just sanitize between each use just to create as much of a safe environment in there as we possibly can. I can attest that our first Universalist bathrooms are the cleanest that they've ever been. Right now. They are so clean. And then, it's mostly like door handles, sink handles, toilet handles, and toilet seat. That's usually what we are sanitizing for the most part after folks are in and out, just to touch the specific points of contact that folks have with the bathroom. And then the third person is sort of a runner and a medic presence, just to be available for our medics in case they need something in the building, in case they need something that is not readily available to them, looking for tape or looking for, stuff that could be anywhere, in our. And it's really helpful for that person who's the sort of runner or medic presence to know the first Universalist building. If you've been there before, it's a bit of a maze sometimes if you haven't spent extended time inside of the building. So sometimes it's good to have somebody there who's present, just to be present to our medics. So for the 6 to 9 shift, we're really just opening up, giving out those pieces, keeping the restrooms open, checking in to see if there's anything that our medics need. For the 9 to midnight shift, turns out we're going to be closing up the building at the end of that, which just means to turn off all the lights, close all the doors, and just continue with that presence. Something that we've been noticing as we go along is that if the protest often begins either on Jefferson Ave or at MLK Park at MLK Square. If the protest begins at Jefferson Ave, it's a more quiet night at First Universalist for the most part, because the starting location is not right there next to the church building, and the marching oftentimes doesn't even go by the building. It's a much more quiet night. But if the protest starts at MLK, oftentimes folks are marching by and marching back past. So you see the march go by, as well as people nearby who know that we're open, who need a restroom or whatever. So that's just something to know. And it's been kind of on an every other night pattern, but also this is an unpredictable time. We don't we don't know sometimes where things are going to be happening until, the early afternoon, sometimes late afternoon, the day of. So that's just something to know. As far as remaining COVID safe, we are doing our best. I was literally just at the church today taping up a bunch of wear a mask signs around on our doors. And so, please, when you come, wear a mask and bring a mask, of course. But also a part of our jobs there as volunteers is to remind folks to wear a mask. And also we are not, we're really being mindful to try not let at this point anybody in the building who's not wearing a mask. We have to keep an eye on that. There's been a few times where that has happened, and it's just good when folks, we have masks there available right by the front entrance for folks to grab. So it's just even, do you need a mask is oftentimes a great question as folks come in. I have a mask for you. Do you need extra masks? Especially, we are a downtown church. So when we started offering water and snack bars out of the side entrance and having our bathrooms open, it's for protesters. And also we have a lot of houseless neighbors in the community that will come by, and to offer them extra masks, please do, and we also have some extra hand sanitizer. Please feel free to offer folks that too for their own safety. The only exception for folks wearing masks is if people are eating and drinking inside. One of the things for our medics is that we are a home base for food that is provided for them. Oftentimes these people are leaving our church at 6:30 or 7 or 7:30 at night and not coming back until midnight and not really feeding themselves. So we have people outside of the congregation that are organizing food for our medics. This becomes a place where at least they can, eat some food, drink some water, do some stuff that take a second to relax and nourish themselves after being out in the fields all night. And these nights are getting colder. So that's the only really exception, is if folks are sitting down and eating or drinking, about wearing masks indoors. So let me just see if there's anything else that I wanted to share with you all before we go to questions. The other piece I wanted to mention is we also do have a daytime cleaning presence opportunity that Reverend Michelle is also coordinating for volunteers who feel like it might not be the best choice for you to be in our building at night, or possibly in our building with as many folks. She can attest that a lot of what that looks like is vacuuming, just wiping down countertops, not touching any of the medical supplies that are there, because they have all been carefully and meticulously organized by our medics to be easily accessed. But also a part of that is emptying out trash and recycling. And if you have any extra space in your personal trash or recycling, taking that home, because our recycling only gets picked up once every 2 weeks. And it has been quite full recently with all of the stuff from our medics. So I don't know if there's anything else to add there, Reverend Michelle, or if this is a good time at your place to add anything, but about that daytime piece.
That we had mentioned today, that for some of our folks who are coming to volunteer, it's the first time they've seen some of their church friends in a while, and it's really hard to not come running up and shake hands and hug and things like that, and but to not do that, and to be aware in yourself that you're going to want to do that, but that we don't want to do that. It's really hard, especially when you haven't seen these friends in so long.
Yeah, I think it's really hard, especially for folks who are from First Universalist, and this has been the building that you really have to wear a mask indoors, and I think it can be a real struggle for folks. So that's something we really want to reinforce. We have to wear masks indoors. We have to be COVID safe and COVID sensitive. And it's for our own sakes, it's for our medics' sakes, it's for like anybody who comes to the building. We have to remain mask wearing. Yeah, go, Elizabeth, you're muted, but go for it.
I just want to add on to what Lane was saying, and thank you, Lane, for that comprehensive opening. Food is not an issue in terms of donating it. Jiva, because their publicity director is a First Unitarian person, has organized a meal train. So right now, sitting out in the lounge are burritos and all kinds of things that are going to be distributed later on to the medics. And there's food in the refrigerator, and the medics have been wonderful in terms of watching what this is, disposing of things as they've been finished, and taking things home. And our little ant sign has not escaped them. The other night, the director of the medics, who's just an amazing woman, if you get a chance, do introduce yourself. Shawnee Wilson said, we have to clean up so the critters don't. And it's just a lot of fun to watch the skill and the passion of these people. These are all people that are working full-time jobs, donating their time to serve the people who are protesting. And it's kind of an awesome experience to watch them applying their trade. They're wonderful, and they have great rapport. Some were here from Boston, some were here from Buffalo. They've got, somebody was here from Hawaii. They've got a lot of presence, and this has become a very unique experience. I just want to reinforce that. It's been wonderful. And if there's leftover food, you do take some home, just so it doesn't rot in the church. So that's the midnight. So that's the advantage for your shift, Mary. Get to take food home.
One of the other pieces I just wanted to lift up is that we are working really hard to protect the anonymity of our medics. So although there is a lot of great stuff going on at the church, we cannot take pictures in the building while folks are in the building. The reason for that is that if we take pictures and put things out on social media, sometimes these folks can get targeted. It's been really unfortunate to see ways that a lot of our activists right now are being targeted in our community for doing amazing work. But I just want to lift that up too as a point that's been made and reinforced by our medics. I can't think of anything else to tell you. I want to answer questions. Yeah, Nuke, go ahead.
Yeah. So you mentioned about 2 volunteers, and it sounded like that was for both shifts. Are we no longer having a third volunteer? And that third volunteer was the one who was standing at the church parking lot door to make sure people weren't just kind of wandering in and coming through the building.
There are 3 volunteer roles that I mentioned, and I think that can be a part of that runner medic presence that's present in the Clara Barton lounge. I don't think that we necessarily need someone like sitting there in the same way that we need someone at the Court Street entrance, because our medics are keeping a really close eye on that door. But certainly, if they're keeping an eye there, as well as being available to the medics in that Clara Barton lounge, is really key.
So the medic runner is one of our volunteers. I thought a medic runner was actually on the medic team, and their job was to run for the medics.
Nope, that's just something for, and it's not like running. I should be clear. It's not like transport. You don't need to like run in and out and get folks,
get stuff,
coffee or whatever. Yeah, or get water to places. It's more like being present in the building and being aware of what's happening there. Mm-hmm.
I got another question.
Sure.
So I like the idea, do you need a mask is kind of a polite way to bring it up. But what if the person says no?
Well, then they can't come into our building.
Okay.
I mean, it's a boundary that we do have to draw for, again, for the safety of ourselves and for the safety of our medics. And so if there's something that they need in the building, we can bring it out to them perhaps, but they can't come into the building.
I think maybe I'd want to say, would you like a mask? Because if they feel they don't need one, then the whole thing gets into an argument. And
it is a boundary to draw.
Yeah.
We haven't had, to be honest, there hasn't been, that I know of, any sort of an argument or a conflict. We have had some folks be surprised that somebody came into the building without a mask. I have certainly heard about that. And I think for the most part, if you're drawing clear boundaries with people, they can respect that, especially since we are there as a caring and loving presence. And we haven't had, we just haven't had folks who are like, I'm forcing my way into the building. Nobody's done that. That hasn't been the vibe, I guess, or the feel down there thus far. Go ahead, Marty.
I have a couple of things. One is, you talked about the front entrance, which is what I think is Clinton Avenue. Are you really talking about the Court Street entrance?
Yeah, pardon me. It is the Court. So we are leaving the Court Street door open for folks to come in and use the bathroom.
Okay, but not the other
No,
one.
we wouldn't put folks through the sanctuary. Yeah. Long walk.
Right. The other thing that I don't know whether you do, because I haven't been there, but I know when I have gone to different doctor's offices or for testing places, there's someone at the door with a hand sanitizer and just squirts the hand sanitizer on your hands. And I'm wondering if that's something that we want to do.
Yeah, we certainly I think we keep some available on that table. Elizabeth, is there some available on that table with you guys there? Because Elizabeth's literally sitting at that table right by the Court Street entrance. Yeah, so we keep some on the table there. And that's a great idea, Marty. It might be good just to remind people as they walk in, grab some hand sanitizer as you're coming in. Oh yeah, we have hand sanitizer wipes.
Or don't have them grab the hand sanitizer. Be the person at the door squirting it into their hands.
Sure.
Otherwise, you just contaminate the whole thing.
That's not a bad idea, like with a squirt bottle. That's how they do it. Like if you go down to Monroe County Public Health, everybody that walks in the building, you don't have a choice. You put out your hands and you get squirted.
Right. Blood draws too, for the blood banks or the.
Right. There's lots of places now where they just squirt you.
And I've got to say, the times I've volunteered in the past week or so, there hasn't been hand sanitizer at the door. I wouldn't know where to find it. I have the sanitizing wipes I use for disinfecting the bathroom, so my hands are really sanitized. But I can say there are times when people have been coming in, they just come in with their hands as they are and they use the restrooms, and then I swab everything.
Sure. Well, I think this is a great suggestion, Marty. So let's see. Yeah, so we can certainly have folks who are at that front door having that hand sanitizer and having that available.
You know what? I can on my way in. Of course, I don't come in until 9, but I can pick up some of the spray bottles versus just the. You pick it up and because it does to defeat the purpose. If they're picking up the hand sanitizer and then putting it back on the table, and the next person picks it up, and
we may have some stuff at church too, and I just don't know where. And Ed's not here for me to ask.
We do have the pumps. Elizabeth just showed the pumps right there on that front entrance table, so you can at least use that tonight before Mary gets there at 9.
Okay.
Great.
I have a question about the daytime volunteers. Is there a checklist for what the daytime volunteers should be cleaning and doing?
Yeah, so I think Rev Michelle sends out a coordinating email. It's just I think it's just doing some quick vacuuming over the floor in the Clara Barton lounge and in the bathroom area and in that front vestibule, and then wiping down countertops, tables, and taking out trash recycling. Michelle, is there anything I'm missing from there?
No, that's it. I haven't sent anything out, but I can certainly have a checklist there, especially reminding people where like the vacuum is, and that we have that new vacuum now that's a bit lighter from Paula Marchese, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Great.
For Chris, it's probably like shutdown day for rain, the second Sunday.
Oh, heavens. I hope it's not that.
Did you have a question?
No beds to put away,
Yes.
right?
Yes, I have a question.
Go
So
for it.
how do we sign up for the daytime shifts?
You contact Reverend Michelle,
Okay.
edu@uuroc.org. I will put it in the chat.
Okay.
And does the daytime person need their own key to the church, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
unless you're on a shift with somebody that has a key.
The idea for the daytime shift is, in theory, there won't be any actions happening at that time. And so some people might feel more comfortable because there won't be as many people in the building, but no one else would be there to let you in. So you would have to have your own key. But just to the front of the building, because the closet where the vacuums are is not locked. Yeah.
Kathy, do you have something?
Yeah, I've got a couple questions. I noticed on the floor there's a biohazard box by one of the tables. I assume that's for bloody gauze or I don't know what. This might be a biohazard, but that's not something we should deal with when we're cleaning up. I mean, I assume that's the medics take with them at the end of the night.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
No. Yeah.
And then this is really housekeeping. Where are the big black plastic bags? I was looking for those on Saturday morning and I looked in the janitor's closet. I went down to the basement. I didn't know where else to look.
Did you look in the,
Oh, go ahead, New.
did you look, when you say janitor's closet, is that in the kitchen or is that the one that's between the two restrooms?
Between the two restrooms.
Okay. Sometimes I've found them in the kitchen and sometimes they're cabinets, but usually the cabinet's marked.
You look at the basement, Catherine?
I did look in the basement, yeah.
All the cupboards, because sometimes they're down in there. Maybe they need to be ordered.
We might need to get a few more. I know we opened up a new box of them as we were bagging all of the chairs. So if you come in, also something to expect is that most of the chairs in the Clara Barton Lounge are bagged because we're trying to keep the fabrics safe from anything.
Right, right.
So I know that we were using them at that point. That was the last time I saw a roll of black plastic bags. I'll see if we can ask our medics this evening. Maybe Elizabeth and Dave, since you're there, if you could ask them if they know where that roll is, that would be great. Or maybe we just need to order some more, which I can have Emma do. Great. Yeah, Chelsea.
Had them this morning when he changed it. I'm not sure where it lives, so we'll find that out. I'll coordinate with you and what Dave and Elizabeth say, and put them in a central location, hopefully, so that whomever is.
That would be good. It would be good. Then I had one more question, and that's, you said that the medics have 20 hours of training, but I mean, does that make them advanced first aid? They're not EMTs. What exactly can they do and can they not do?
You know, that's a great question. That does not make them, I don't think, advanced EMTs, though we do have a lot of folks there on the ground who are medical professionals. So oftentimes the people who stay in triage are EMTs, nurses, PAs, physician assistants.
Okay.
We have an ER doc that oftentimes comes through and does some on-the-ground training and support before his shift begins at like 9 or 10 p.m. So he comes in before his shift begins. The medics themselves, I think a lot of what they're trained to do is like responding to stuff really on the moment, wound care, getting gas out of tear gas out of eyes, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Really on the ground care like that. So Chelsea, I'm sorry, go for it.
I just was going to say that I have a couple of the trash bags, those black trash bags, still in my car from the other night when I was doing medical transport volunteering. So I can drop those back off. There's not a lot, but if you're completely out, I do have some.
Great. Thanks, Chelsea. That would be great. The church will be open all day today because of this, because they have this daytime occupation of City Hall, and apparently there's a nighttime action too, come to find out. Folks I think are planning on not getting some sleeping bags, I think, down at City Hall, to be honest, but we won't need to keep the building open that late. Other questions? Yeah, Justin.
Couple questions. One, are you allowing police officers into the building?
No, or not no, but we haven't had any police officers come.
But I mean, like if they needed like either medical assistance or if they needed to use the restroom, are you turning them away or are you allowing them in? Is this gonna...
For the most part, they haven't been approaching us because they have the restrooms and the medical care at the public safety building. But if they were to come, I don't think anybody would necessarily turn them away. I think there are, some, of course, I think after what happened at Downtown United Presbyterian Church and Spiritus Christi, there are some concerns about safety and church buildings, especially after the building downtown, the other church that housed our medic triage previously being shot up with pepper bullets. So nobody's actually approached us for that kind of medical care. And I think for the most part, they have their own medical support that is actually probably far more advanced than what we're providing. But I don't think anybody would necessarily be like turned away. It's a good question though. I haven't asked our medics what they would do in those situations or how they would feel about that. I would need to ask them.
Do you guys have any, as a sanctuary, do you have any protections from the law? Like if you had a protester that was in there and they wanted to come and arrest them, do you have any protections as a church?
It's a great question. I have no idea. We'd have to take a look into that. I don't know. I know that certainly with Spiritus Christi and Doopsy, folks definitely had to lock the doors and the entryways were blocked for folks not to be able to leave by the police, and for folks, the police didn't get into the building. I would hope that they would respect the inside of a church. Mary, do you know something about this? I saw that you unmuted.
I was just going to say, I don't think they necessarily respected sanctuary, but it almost sounds like Reverend Lane, like you're saying something different, that they did stay outside of the building. They didn't, they told people that they could come out and go to their cars. So it wasn't like they were going to walk out and be arrested, but they did threaten that if they stayed there that they might get arrested, but they did not go into the building. So I don't know if that helps or not really.
I think that is something worth having a policy on, though. I mean, do you ask if they have a search warrant? Do you say you can't come in? And I mean, they might anyway, but it is a good question.
Yeah, I'll have to do some research on it. Thanks, Justin. Thanks for bringing that up.
Well, I'm wondering too if we might be in the position at some point of wanting the police's help. I mean, if you might end up with, I don't know, somebody in the building that's causing problems or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, at this point, we really haven't run into anything like that. And it's certainly a question to consider. I think for the most part, we have really stuck with, especially with our homeless and houseless neighbors and having folks having like, mental health crises in our building. We have, as of this time in my 2 years, not had to call the police for folks having that happen in our building. And that would be the only thing I could really, but it's worth, I'll certainly ask our medics, and it's certainly worth, like, I think that's kind of more of a leadership question, like leadership of the church, and when do we call the police and when do we not? And that is an interesting area for policy, as I think there are some congregations who are trying to create alternatives for calling the police, or trying to figure out what the alternatives are in their city, or also just some guidance around when would you call the police. I know that we've talked about that in a task force that I was on with some of our House committee and a couple of members, just about when is it appropriate to call the police again with some of our houseless neighbors, and when is it not? When are there other resources? We've certainly had that conversation. But yeah, Elizabeth.
Elaine, I know Karen Baracos wants to say something, and I want to say something after that, Karen, if you could.
I mean, we've been talking a whole lot about the rules and the procedures and stuff like that, but especially for those of you that haven't been there, I wanted to talk a little bit about how I just have found it so inspiring, just amazing to be in the presence of all these wonderful folks that are so organized. They're so, they know the values that they are working from. And to me, that's worth it, just to listen, to hear the stories. I mean, all I've done is clean the bathrooms hundreds of times and take out trash and recycling. And yet what I've been enriched with is inspiring stories. So, you know, you go and you do these things, but the listening part, to me, that's so amazing.
Thanks, Karen. I'm so glad to follow you with that, because what I wanted to do is say I'm inspired by the people, many of you who have volunteered. It kind of brings me to tears, because we're all going across that edge and saying, I believe in this, and I'm putting my body where my heart is. And it's, for some of us, scary, you know, coming to downtown at night, not knowing what's going to happen. Some of you have had encounters in here that have been frightening, and yet here you are, still learning and still asking and still being a part of it. So I just want to commend the folks that have volunteered, and those of you who are about to come on aboard. It's wonderful.
I have another question. I think there are volunteers that aren't here at the training, and I'm wondering if some of the things we talked about, if there could be, again, a checklist perhaps, so that the evening folks know what is expected, perhaps.
I paid her for
I
that.
know they're
pulling one together. Yeah, thanks, Chris. We're working on pulling one together. It's coming.
I paid Chris for that. I said, check that out. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, Jean, I see you, and then I see Lyle.
Yeah, I was there Tuesday night last week, and my husband and I sat pretty much putting together those little plastic bags of the tissues and masks and treat and earplugs and stuff like that. That's what we did for the 3 hours we were there. And we basically wrote he was filling the bags and I was writing BLM and then putting a little heart on the bag. And that kept us busy. And I don't know whether those will be things that'll be something that they also will need help with on and off, or how that's going to happen. But that's what I did that one night. And my husband and I chatted with a couple of some of the techs that were, volunteer medic people who were hanging out in the building a little bit, but that was about all we did. Chelsea, you had your hand up for a little bit. Is there something you wanted to ask?
I had more of a comment. The police don't have to tell the truth. I mean, as far as like what they did about respecting sanctuary, and it sounds like they were just trying to disperse the crowd, threatening, like they can threaten to arrest people, like they can lie to basically just get people to disperse. So, a police officer saying people being arrested, if you stay in the sanctuary, you could be arrested. Like they were probably just saying that to get the people, the crowd dispersed. But I know that the night that I was there, there were some there were some legal volunteers. So, you know, they might be able to advise more thoroughly.
Yeah, Chelsea, that was just for that one night. We had some folks who were coming and attempting to and collecting some stories from people about their encounters with the Rochester Police Department. These are just two lawyers who are working on, I think, a defense for Daniel Prude's family, and also folks that are just sort of legal folks, I think, from the ACLU, which is actually where two of our main organizers two of our main organizers for Free the People Rock do work. So they were just sort of collecting some information. We have cards with phone numbers for those folks still at the medic station, but those legal folks actually haven't been back since that night. But certainly good people to call, and maybe I should give them a call myself.
Yeah, for sure. The ACLU should be able to tell you what exactly the law is for police and churches.
Great. Lyle, I saw that you had your hand raised earlier.
Thank you. I've learned much by listening and understanding that by definition, we don't know that the next hour will be anything like the previous hour or any other hour. I would be helped to hear some examples of what the traffic has been like in and out of the building, the sorts of situations that the medics have been addressing. Just a little more of a profile of what might happen based on what has been happening to date.
Dave, you wanna?
Well, from several shifts, I have seen one person who was brought in after a seizure or diabetic coma, or not coma, but hypoglycemic incident, who had some minor first aid. There was, excuse me, I did not witness any severe bleeding. But there were some people who had been sprayed with tear gas or pepper spray, I'm not sure which, and they were decontaminated and fitted with some clothes and sent on their way. But I did not witness any really serious injuries.
And if I could add on to that, Lyle, because the folks are, the medics go out into the field, much of the first aid is completed right there. Folks who are brought in here are seen by the triage coordinator to decide what needs to happen. And what I have seen, at one point I walked through, and again, because of HIPAA and being just the person who was available in that room, but not interfering or intervening, one of the things we've done is keep a low profile, because our job is the support, not the interaction. So as I walked through for answering some question, I looked down and I thought, is that woman being operated on? Well, they were doing stitches on someone. And afterwards I checked with the triage coordinator and I said, did I see that right? And she said, you did. But it's very low key. It's not, there's not a lot of, oh my gods. People know what they're doing. They handle it gracefully. And we're mostly up here on the lobby level, and there's very little interaction that's even needed.
That's helpful to me. Thank you.
Tess?
The lobby level from the news I got from the triage coordinator Sunday night has set up a triage station for to treat clothes that have been contaminated with chemicals. And it's the table where Elizabeth and Dave are sitting right now. And should the need arise, folks would come in the Court Street door, sit right close to the door where decontamination would take place. And the chairs that Elizabeth and Dave are sitting on now are plastic chairs that can easily be wiped off.
Thanks, Tess.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tess.
I've got a question with that. So when the person who's closed or gas and they come in, are they with a medic? Or are they just members of the public and they walk in and know where to park themselves? Are we volunteers supposed to be involved in helping them get to the spot?
I think usually the medics who are there on the spot respond. I mean, Tess, you can, oh no.
But if they're in the Clara Barton Lounge, they're not going to see people coming in the Court Street door.
Sure. Usually they set it up that something is happening. Every single medic has walkie-talkies. They all are connected through a network of walkie-talkies. So they know when tear gas has happened before we will know about it. They know when any of this stuff is happening. They're informing each other constantly.
Okay.
So they will know ahead of time and they will know how to prepare the space.
Okay.
It's actually one of the really cool pieces about this is like they are they've gotten some of this down. So they're communicating with each other, and oftentimes the way that they get to our church, depending on how far away they are, is through transport. So these transport folks are there with their vans or cars, usually a van, ready to drive people back. So folks know in general that someone is coming, unless, I mean, really, Newcomb, I think the worst case scenario is like something is actively happening outside the church. Though we haven't had a very heavy police presence outside the church thus far. Most of it is happening at the public safety building. And I think that if things escalate to that level, the police would have traveled quite a ways and we would know that folks were coming again through that walkie-talkie system.
Okay.
Thank you, Lane. That really fills in a gap in my understanding to know that the medics are hooked up with walkie-talkies. That makes perfect sense now that I hear it. And
Yeah.
the picture is much sharper focused now. Thanks.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing, the stuff that they have pulled together and the coordinated effort that they have pulled together in very little time. And a lot of these things have been donated to them through Jiva's collection or at our building. So, yeah, Theo.
Hi, are they still doing the daytime weekend, Saturday, like Free the People organizing those protests too? Or have they pretty much petered out?
Those, at this point, those have pretty much petered out. We didn't see one this past Saturday. And for the most part, I think we are seeing an all-day action today from 8:30 to 5, and then from 5 until, again, we don't know. You know, the time that was posted for today was 8:30 to 5. And then we just saw another action come through that's continuing to be Occupy City Hall. The city council is supposed to have a listening session with the community tonight at 5. I don't even know if that's still happening at this point. But the Saturdays at 1 piece, that hasn't been the tactic of the organizers at this point.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thank you for asking.
Elizabeth also, I'm sorry, she also mentioned the need for blankets, but I know one of our own church committees stepped up, but is that still a need?
I don't know, Elizabeth, I didn't hear about that need. Is that still a need? I know that there were some blankets back there in that treatment area.
They're gone, and the reason they're gone is once folks are treated, depending on their level, they don't want the blanket back. So when the folks are treated, they go with the blanket because nobody's cleaning blankets. But also the cold weather, they want to wrap people up. If they're having to treat them out in the parking lot, there's going to be need for that. So the other night as it was getting colder, right away they said, oh, and they were out of blankets the other night. We were using bathrobes. So Lisa saw that on the feed. We put it on chat, and she got I think it's called Blanket Committee, is it? Social justice thing? The knitters, and they're already.
Yeah, that work with a lot of our houseless organizations to donate Afghan.
So they've got 6 ready to go now because they couldn't donate them. They were sitting and waiting for that. And then they've got 6 more. So she's got that pretty well covered. Karen Dow was here today and brought 2 down. So sure, the more the merrier, I would think, from what I've seen.
Where is this feed? Where are you getting the information? Is this something that all of us can access, or just certain? Pardon?
Elizabeth posted that in the chat during our worship service this past week.
Oh,
that was.
Thank you.
Oh.
No, and if there's another feed, I don't want to know it. No.
Well, actually, then I decided, I should look at the chat for this meeting right now, and there's stuff in that chat.
Yeah, Tess is doing some amazing work on a checklist for us. Okay, so I see Chelsea. I thought I saw some other hands too. I'm so sorry if I'm missing you, but go ahead, Chelsea, and then Anne.
Are emergency blankets, would that work? Like the Mylar kind of things, or do they want proper blankets specifically?
I think it's for warmth. But did I mute myself?
Yeah.
Chelsea, I think it's for warmth that they're looking for. I don't know how the Mylar blankets are for warmth.
Well,
I mean, that's kind of what they do. Like, they're not there for comfort and softness. They're there to trap the heat, the body heat.
Yeah.
I'm
Both
suspecting.
ends. Both of them would be good.
Anne, what's your question? Sorry, what's going on?
On a similar vein, I'm wondering if you talked about people decontaminating and getting clothes. Is there a supply of clothes there, or do we need to be getting more of those?
There is a supply of clothes there that have been all size sorted, and we don't want it to be too big. So we're gonna, there's a good amount, but there's probably just enough.
Right. At one point, I said to Reverend Lane, we might need snack bars, but I'm not going to put out a call for them because you know how generous this congregation is. We'll have snack bars till next week. So we have enough snack bars. We don't need any more. Trust me.
But we will need more. We will need more eventually. That is for sure.
Eventually,
We will need more.
But just not yet. Not yet.
If folks have donations that they'd like to bring by the church, for the most part, the hours that we have out there from 6 to midnight are great hours to come and drop off stuff. If you want to arrange a daytime drop off, you could also be in touch with Rev Michelle to see when folks are going to be in the building during the day. We have occasionally had people leave supplies outside of the church, and we found some on Sunday when it rains at Sunday afternoon and brought them in. Thankfully, most of them wrapped in plastic, but if you have donations you'd like to bring by, they'll take them, that's for sure, and they'll get them distributed. They get them out there.
This is Tess on the phone, and just circling back to a nuts and bolts issue, if this is a time. Reverend Michelle, do we have a health scan questionnaire for volunteers entering the building?
So I had posted that into the chat to make sure that we address it. So Reverend Lane had that questionnaire, and earlier today I sent it on to Elizabeth so that when she sends someone an email to confirm their volunteer slot, they will receive the questionnaire as well. So we don't necessarily have a system in place where they sign off on it like you do at some of your doctor's offices. But just at least so volunteers kind of go through and ask themselves those questions and make sure they're really feeling well before they come in the building. And to please, we'd rather you won't leave us in a lurch. If you are too sick to come in, we will figure that out.
Thank you for bringing this down.
Walter, you have a potty up here. Sorry, potty.
Thanks.
Early childhood. Anything else? Any other questions folks have? Ideas? Yeah, Newt, go ahead.
There were when we're going through the list of things to sanitize and doing the restrooms, there are a couple of things that I do that didn't come through on the list, and I'm happy to just email them to whoever's putting the list together. But I'm not sure who that was. Is it Elizabeth?
That would be me, Nuke.
I can't. Hang on. Okay, I went and put the chat up and covered the screen. So Tess, all right. So Tess, I will email you what my checklist is, and then you can do whatever you want with it. Okay, that'll be your decision.
Thanks.
Lane, I'm wondering if there's any sort of a list if people want to sign on for being flexible, like what happened today. We have this view in mind that it'll be an evening thing, but we don't know if suddenly it'll be a daytime thing. So if there were volunteers who were like, hey, I'm pretty flexible, give me a call if they want to let you know that.
Sure. We don't have anything set up as a list just yet. One of the things I was thinking was that we could probably in the future, Elizabeth, when things like this happen, you do have a list, an email list. And it may just be good to put the call out there. I don't know, Michelle, I've seen in some other groups that are organizing now, like getting together like a Google form for people to participate and indicate the times when they are available. To be honest, I don't know that I have the capacity to pull that together right now, personally. So if anyone is willing to do that, that would be great. But actually, quite frankly, we have a great volunteer Google Doc that Jenny Stanbury at First Unitarian pulled together for us, for all of us for this effort, thankfully, which has been great for coordinating just our nighttime volunteer efforts. And off of that, we've been creating an email list. But is anybody excited about creating a Google form? It does sound exciting, doesn't it? Creating a Google form.
It sounds kind of exciting, but I will say that folks that are here, I think I didn't count, but at least 8 or 10 of the folks who are here have volunteered and are volunteering again. And Mary Hemley is coming again tonight. So we have that set up with hopefully John. So we're doing well. And if anybody wants to do a double shift, let me know.
How do we find out sort of short notice whether a spot's been filled? And I'm thinking specifically, and I know this all got canceled anyway, but last night, I think 2 days ago, last night's midnight to 3 a.m. slot was not filled. And I wasn't sure if it was, and yet that's kind of late in the day for me to kind of try to ask around, did that ever get filled? And yeah, we didn't need that one, but is there a way I can find the latest version of a schedule?
The Google schedule that I've sent is a Google Doc. It's a Google sheet, they call it. And if you go back to that sheet, when somebody signs in, it goes on there automatically. So it is updated.
Okay, I didn't know that. Okay,
I know,
thank you.
I didn't either till I sent it, and I killed myself trying to get the update to somebody. And she said, oh, I already knew. It was like, okay.
So yeah,
it's
wonderful technology. Updates right away, saves like that.
Yeah.
Ready to go.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us today. Thanks for making the time. Thank you so much for coming and for being a part of it. Jean is saying she hasn't yet seen that doc to sign up again.
Got my phone in my hand.
Great. So Elizabeth, if you could send that out. Oh gosh, one thing I forgot to let you all know is that at First Universalist, our board has voted to do this for a week through this upcoming Thursday evening. And our board is going to be checking back in tomorrow night to see, how is it going? Does this feel sustainable? What's going on? What are some tweaks that we need to make? So, and our medics are aware of that. Our emotional support folks are aware of that, but that's just something to know. Like, our board wanted to make sure that we weren't just saying yes to this forever, but that we were saying yes to this with a time limit on it, and just recognizing that, we don't know what our volunteer capacity is going to be. We don't know how many folks are going to answer the call or how. So we've really been mindful of that. So there should be an update going out, after this Wednesday evening when they meet at 7. Just an update will go out to the congregation and also to anyone who has volunteered thus far, so we can just be transparent and clear about what's going on. And you need the document too.
Okay.
So, Anne, do we have your email information? Does Elizabeth have it? Do you know? Hang on, I'm gonna unmute you. Oh, I can't unmute you. Can you unmute you? Sorry.
Sorry. Well, I got this meeting notice, so maybe I'll look on that and see if there's an easy, if I can reply through that, or reach out to Elizabeth, I guess.
Okay, Great, thanks, Ann.
Elizabeth's keeping the email list. She's really coordinating us.
Yep.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
For that. Awesome.
I'm not remembering how to do this.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for volunteering in whatever way you can. Thank you for just considering volunteering. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
This has been a really amazing effort to see the ways that we're caring for our people in the streets and caring for our community. So take care, everyone. I'm going to end the meeting in a moment. Have a good rest
Thank
of
you,
your day.
Wayne.
I see you at 9.
See you at 9. Take care.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you for having this.